Hey guys, welcome back to Occultists Anonymous. This is episode 100. We've missed you.
Yay.
Hi. Behold, our wonderful new character art. Thank you to Brenna, also known as Cloudbound Corgi. Freaking awesome art. And this is just like half of it, because there's also the Nimbus versions, which you'll see in like thumbnail stuff that we're going to do. There's some new cool branding. It's freaking fabulous. So to remind you all, wait, no, hang on. Man, I did this last week, but apparently because it's episode 100, my brain has gone to shit. As always, guys, this is actually, let's be clear here. This is not Occultists Anonymous. This is Occultists Anonymous, the Rookery, because there may be more stuff in the future. I mean, we just had the Richmond miniseries. There might be other stuff in the future. We don't have any active plans. Nobody freak out. But we're open to it, so stuff might happen in the future. Songbird at least has plans for a little retrospective thing. So if you haven't seen the Richmond series, go watch it and then come by and ask some questions in the questions chat in Discord. And Chris is going to do a little breakdown for what it was like to prep Mage and how he had to throw out half of his notes. And
it's a generous estimate too.
That said, yeah, I know those feels. Yeah. With all that said, Occultists Anonymous is sponsored by Roll20, The Onyx Path, and viewers like you. Thank you very much to our patrons who support us monetarily. Let us do cool things, including this bell that is not here, Craig. It's not here. It's not on my desk.
Oh, you shipped it? You actually shipped it?
I mean, it's in a box.
It's in a box.
Okay, yeah. So it's still there.
Right. But it's made progress because now we actually have a box. Yeah. Notably, we didn't have a box. That was one of the delays. Is we didn't have a box and we couldn't figure out where the box had gone. We gave up and we found a different box. Anyways, yes, thank you to our patrons: Alan, Michael, Alexander, Algos, Badur, Bernie, Brendan, Danny, Doc, Emil, Giovanni. Is this Paradox? That's Noctal. It's Michael, James, Jenny, John, Josh, Julian, Cat Feathers, Lance, Melissa, Michael, Moku, Noba, Not Michael, Perry, Puppeteer, Roy Scred, Ryan, Schmitty, Sebastian, Sinna, Terry, Thomas, Usuf Sama, and Firekeeper. Thank you guys very much for your support. It means a lot to us. That's how we were able to do this awesome, cool character art. It's how we were able to do the bell. We've got new mics, all sorts of that kind of stuff. That's thanks to you guys giving us a little bit of stuff that basically doesn't have to come out of our pocket so we can make the show better and bring more stuff to you guys. So we greatly appreciate that. So when we last left our friends, the Cabal, they were in New York 6 months ago. Since then, 6 months have passed. Actually, 4 weeks, but you understand.
Yeah, that's a racing joke.
Yeah. I saw the joke coming. I'm like, hang on, we're gonna hop that one. So some stuff has happened. Quite a few things. We'll go over the stuff that the Cabal knows about, and then as we move forward, we'll see what other stuff has happened. Because obviously, the world doesn't literally revolve around these folks. Just mostly.
Give me a couple more dots of forces and we got this.
Right, yeah, that we shift the world. Yeah. As some of you may have noticed in chat, we did spend some XP on some Gnosis and some Arcana. So yeah, shenanigans are afoot. But we're going to do this alphabetically. So past 6 months, and Ash, feel free to chime in anywhere in here. But Atratus, the very first... Oh, actually, let's just go ahead and start off with that die roll. So yes, 3 dice, please. Do you still have... Do you have any obsessions or virtues related to this, potentially?
Nope.
Okay.
I have virtue, empathetic, vice, curious.
Okay, right.
And I don't have any obsessions related to game anymore,
right.
I don't think.
Cool. I don't remember you having it because I remember you basically said
I'll double check, but no, I solved it. Yeah.
Right. Cool. So yes, 3 dice for that premeditated murder of Colton.
He had it coming.
Our minor villain. That's a fail. So reduce your wisdom. I'm not going to worry about the condition because that was 6 months ago. You handled that at some point or other. So yes,
not great.
Not great. But it's okay. I mean, these are the things. So yes, we start off with shortly after when we had left off, Atreides had gone with Gabe, and they murdered Colton. There's a lovely little write-up I'm going to put in Patreon that'll be available to patrons first for, like, we'll say 2 weeks, and then everybody else will be able to see it. And it's just Ash's little write-up of her. I don't want to say a short sketch because that makes it sound like piddly or small, but it's her breakdown of the events as they occurred. Yes, so he got because he needed to be. That was some revenge. Then proceeded to work with, over the past 6 months, with Network, our good friend Jimmy Smalls, to create a connection system and communication for the various, we're going to say good aligned, but that's not a great descriptor of supernaturals within the New York City area. So we've got the Phantasm Society, some of the Nosferatu that are part of the Ordo Dracul, a couple other like hedge mage, fallen sorcerer types, and just kind of a way that everybody can kind of communicate and chat with each other. To be fair, it has met with moderate success, mostly because everybody's a little paranoid about telling anything to mages, because mages are going to want to get involved in one way or another. But nonetheless, it exists, and most everybody who's in New York City at least knows about it or knows a guy who knows about it. It's not exactly hard to find. It's literally a bird watching site. Just go in, drop your little contact us thing, and it'll get, spread around. She's also worked with Shodell and Hiza, and not with Hiza, just Shodell, as the Sentinel. And Atreides has now been made the official ambassador of the New York Concilium as far as it relates to the other supernatural community within the New York Concilium. So basically, if there's some problems with vampires, if there's problems with werewolves, things like that, the mages are told to go check in with Atreides over there in the Rookery, south, down lower Manhattan, and she'll get it squared away. You might not be happy with the way she decides things are going to go, but she's the one that basically even the hierarch kind of begrudgingly admits, yeah, let Atreides handle it. Atreides can talk to them. Atreides has got the because let's be honest, Atreides is nice, and people are a little terrified of that because it's the nice, quiet ones that you have to watch out for. Also, notably, Atreides has also upped her goth game, the attire as reflected in the character art. She's also established herself with Gabe as a full-time familiar, though he's not literally hovering over her shoulder all the time. But there's that. I'm trying to think here. And now that I've got Discord set up so I can actually view different chats, I could scroll back and double check. Was there anything else I missed? Oh, right. So there's this whole thing down in Peru, for those of you who remember, the Stygian temple. She has gone back. She has started to reintegrate these folks one at a time using her apprentices, because she, of course, has 2 students of the Ebon Phoenix. One has a name, the other doesn't. That's just how these things
I want the other one to be. I still don't have like a name or a character for them yet.
Correct.
I want someone that Factory sent me.
We can definitely
like a nice person who wants to be helpful.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I think most of them, in one way or another, are going to want to be helpful. Q, however, a little bit of an ass. I like, he's a Moros with space. I'm like, hi Q. Yes, that me. Sorry, bud.
No, stop it.
Yeah, it's okay. He won't be around much. Well, maybe he will. We don't know. But yes, integrating them back, their souls and minds back into their body, and basically giving them the option of what do you want to be now? Where do you want to go? And trying to integrate them into society. Some of them obviously are going to be swept up, especially in local mage territory down in Peru. Some might want to return back to Spain, and they're going to assist with that. But that's all kind of stuff that's happening in the background. She has let it be known that there is a temple, and soon, not yet, but soon it will be there to help people. At least mages and supernatural to start. Eventually they might manage to do some stuff, that they can even work with sleepers. Because after all, their attainments allow them to do that with sleepers, which is kind of crazy. Any other quick notes?
I think that about covers it, yeah.
Cool. And then Songbird. Yeah, we're not going to do this alphabetical.
No, it's alphabet. Weird is last.
Yeah, but we're not going to do it alphabetical. We're going to do Weird next.
Okay.
So yes, Weird has been expanding the labyrinth that is the Watch of the Row, and has kind of expanded it and stepped back a little bit, letting it do its own thing and kind of breathe on its own, which has now spread out to not only the theater, but also film and TV within all of New York City. It's just kind of one of those known things. People know somebody who's involved, and they not quite to the point that the labyrinth is nudging and messing with film, but people who are in somehow have contacts with the Watch of the Row in one way or another. There's, we're talking 2 degrees of separation to Kevin Bacon.
That's pretty close.
Yeah. And then, of course, while Songbird, who we will talk about a little bit just right now, but we'll come back, has been out on excursions as basically Titus, Network, and Weird have worked together using the spell that we never actually rolled. It's okay. Don't worry about that. To basically find coincidences that would draw them towards the finding of this last missing grimoire, the 5th. They have 4. They've got a 5th that they're trying to track down. And all those different little hints that, maybe this is a thing and this is a thing. And Songbird is more than happy to go, Sears, here, this way. And off Songbird goes. So Weird and Titus and Network have been doing that, especially because of Weird's legacy, enabling her now, especially with Space 4, to be like, I can send members of the Cabal places. And if they run into trouble, I can be there.
Yoink.
Or also yoink. In the case of Songbird, one goes to support Songbird. Songbird will be mad if you yoink.
Yes.
Do not yoink the Songbird. And has also been increasing her wisdom. So Atratus just lost a dot of wisdom. Weird has actually gained one, is now enlightened. So, oh boy, extra acts of hubris. And has also been expanding her own legacy, which is called The Weird. And so we have Borsine as one member of the legacy, who we saw there at the end, my notes. 1 second. Yes. So Borsine is Hold please. There it is. Yes. So while Weird is the Weird of the Rookery, Borsine is the Weird of the Chainless Insurgency. Yes.
It's a cool Cabal name.
1,000 bells ring across the state of New York.
Yeah.
As you try and get through this sentence.
Yes. Oh, Conka, what are you doing to me here? Just go back to my notes. Don't worry, guys. We're back in full measure, man. Notes not working and everything.
So while you're starting that out, maybe I'll expand a little bit. I can expand a little bit. Like, Weird's been pretty quiet the last 6 months. She set up like a command center at the Rookery. So there's like vid windows monitoring different areas of our territory. She's got some wards in place and stuff like that to make sure people who we say can get safe passage actually get safe passage and that kind of stuff. So she hasn't done much. She's been very much a homebody hanging out in the command center, but everyone else in the Rookery has been very successful in things that they were trying to do.
Strange.
Yes.
I really like the idea of you having like a securities room. It's just like,
I mean,
yeah, pretty much, except instead of television monitors, it's all vid windows, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So for those of you in chat who are asking, what about Steven? What about Steven? Yes, Steven has awoken. Steven is in Acanthus. Steven is not in the Cabal. Steven is in Acanthus and has received some training from Weird, but Steven's focus is not the same as the Rookery's focus, and so has kind of been ushered in and is currently newly awoken, not part of a Cabal, is training with Moonkeepers, kind of talking with the different orders, very similar to where we saw Network back when we last left off and had just joined the Mysterium. Steven is trying to figure things out. Obviously, kind of leaning towards Guardians of the Veil, but still kind of unsure. Christopher Wallace also had a mystery play.
Yeah.
Stephen Wallace met Pandemonium and bailed the fuck out. So Stephen has awoken and is in Acanthus. Christopher Wallace, he's just a sleepwalker. But that's fine.
I can't say just a sleepwalker.
I know, right? Yeah. Like there's. I mean, we have all seen Titus, right? Actually, I guess we haven't. We don't have any art for Titus.
Yeah.
With our mind's eye, we've seen.
Right. That's true.
We should figure out what he looks like.
We should. I do have. I do have some notes and stuff like that. So we'll talk about that more. And then Rose Gates, who we have not seen on screen, but is a member of the Watch of the Rowan, has awoken as well. Which has definitely the three awakenings. A lot of people are looking over at the Rookery and the Watch of the Rowan and going, what is going on over there? And mostly people realize, it's because Weird is sending creepy spirit birds and fairies at people. Oh, okay. So there was some talking to from some Alethians that told Weird, hey, you want to just slow it down?
Dial it back a little bit.
Just a little bit. But yes, Rose Gates is the Cabal's new Thyrsis. That is her actual name. She's similar to how Jimmy was, and similar to Steven, still trying to develop and trying to figure out her shadow name. But Rose Gates is obviously a Thyrsis just by that name. Yeah. But yeah, she's 74, by the way, and has a 50-year-old fiance. They haven't set a date yet. So there's some stuff there where Rose is trying to figure out, okay, how do I pair mage life with the sleeper world and stuff like that. But yeah,
well, so she's good news is she woke up as a Thyrsis, so she just got an extra 50 years of life.
Right.
Yeah.
So she can kind of slow herself down, match her fiance, maybe. We don't know. She's got to get some life, arcana built up first. But she's very, very new to the Cabal. And yeah, she used to run a walking tour of the theater district in Manhattan. That's how she got swept up in the Cabal. Am I missing anything there, Craig? Anything else?
Weird spent a lot of time the last 6 months working with Moonkeeper.
Right.
Because she feels like Moonkeeper kind of painted himself into a corner in the past, and she's trying to expand his horizons a little, I guess, is the one way to look at it.
Righto. And then Songbird.
What's up?
Wait, before we get into Songbird, I think everybody wants to know. Titus and Alicia.
What about them?
What happened? What's going on with them? Is there a long-term relationship there?
Like, they're dating. What do you want? They're okay. Titus hasn't been eaten yet.
That's good. That's good. Progress.
Yep. Cool. So we're going to wait a moment here. Well, no, we're not going to wait a moment. We're not going to wait. So Songbird, past 6 months, is now the provost of Hadramiel, the Obrimos counselor. This caused a bit of a what the fuck from both the Adamantine Arrow, who are going, why are you working for the Silver Ladder guy? Like, shouldn't you be working with everybody? And it's the Silver Ladder guys are going, why'd you pick the Adamantine Arrow? There's a little bit of kerfluffle, and both Songbird and Hadramio just went, just deal with it. They have some shared interests, and especially
the reason is Ligma.
Yep. And especially between the fact that there's not a big, heavy Obrimos leader for the Adamantine Arrow. Songbird's got to find a mentor somewhere. Just saying. And yes, for somebody who were asking in chat, what is Songbird's kill count? Well, so Songbird has been killing seers, not going out intentionally to kill seers, but when you investigate a Thearch's armory and where his stuff is left, you find some seers, and when you find some seers, sometimes you just gotta kill them. It just happens.
Just happened. They fell down the stairs violently
and landed on some bullets.
Let's be honest, it's Songbird. There's no bullets involved. It was just a high-speed crash down the stairs. We're talking somewhere in the 12 to 15 range at this point over the past 6 months.
Sounds about right.
Yep. And then has been making some deals and trading information and gathering materials for some things. Some very Forge Mastery things. Which I actually can't remember. Did you get the third attainment? Okay, no, so still at the second attainment.
Right, I was making your... No, right, I keep thinking I was making your new.
Nope, he was making a crazy cool
You just got
forge.
the second attainment.
Yeah. And then Songbird is... Well, we'll pick up with where Songbird is. So,
you keep dodging around that one. This is going to be good.
Oh, yeah.
I want to know.
We are going to get... But remember how you guys said that you kind of wish you could see what Titus looked like?
Mm-hmm.
What about, some of our other good friends like Judd and Network?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to drop this here into our little chat. Everybody at home, we're going to use our cool new overlay to show something else. So I'm going to...
We have a cool new overlay.
Open that. Is that in the right chat? Oh, no, I almost sent that just to Ash. Whoops.
Bastard.
So that's... Okay, we're just going to hold that in limbo. Twitch chat, we're going to try and move... Well, Twitch and YouTube, guys. We're going to see, can I go over here to that? Yes, I can. Boom. Okay. So as it uploads to Discord... Behold!
What?
Oh, man!
So, this is thanks to one of our patrons, Moku, basically reached out and said, hey, I really like Brenna's art. Could we do some more cool stuff? And I said, man, dude, that's up to you. And so he worked with Brenna and got some stuff and kind of planned out some scenes. So here we have, up in the top left, Songbird punching the living shit out of a seer, knocking their mask off, which I'm like...
Panopticon even.
Oh, yeah, that's kind of what I figured. Yeah, Panopticon. We have Weird initiating somebody, or the start of perhaps the cult. We kind of left it vague with the Lunargent bathtub. And then we have, down at the bottom, Atratus with a double exposure kind of thing, returning to Peru, to the Temple of Supe, which... Oh man, them purple black torches with the shadows drawing so inward. But the most important part, guys, smack dab there in the middle, we have the family dinner. So there, on our far left, we have Network, Jimmy, with his glasses on, his cane. We have Titus juggling some turkey and such. We've got next to him that's Judd. Standing over top, and then male Songbird there, Atratus and Weird, and then of course Rose there on the far right.
Awesome.
Is that not freaking awesome?
This is so good.
So yes. Yeah, that was a surprise to them. And I only just recently got the completed one last night. Like before I went to bed. I was like, that's why on Discord I was like, you show up tomorrow because it's going to be good. So yeah, so that's the thing. So thank you very much. I'm jumping back. Sorry, you guys couldn't see our expressions and reactions because I wanted to do that together, but holy crap. So very, very cool. So yes, thank you. Yes, Brenna is indeed a beast. And also a special shout out to Chris, not this Chris, but King Solarian on Twitter, worked with Brenna, and she was like, oh yeah, give him a shout out for figuring out the layout and getting everything configured and stuff like that. So yes. Yeah, that Twitch chat. Yes, they're supposed to be naked in the tub. Don't worry about it. Man. Yes, so that was super, super cool. So yes, thank you to our supporters. Thank you to our patrons. Thank you to everybody who puts money and supports us and does super cool things because, like, I'll be honest, we're all used to just playing games at home with each other, and the fact that we have a community who literally, I had somebody reach out and said, I've got money to burn. What should I do? I was like, dude, I'm not going to ask you to spend any money. Well, I want to do a comic thing. I'm like, sure, do whatever. And then Brenna reached out, and then I'm like, I'll tell you this. And also, you just do whatever you want. And then this came out. Holy crap.
I can't stop looking at it. That's awesome.
I know.
It's so good.
And I will...
The rest of the episode is just going to be me staring at this picture.
Right. And I do have... That's the low-res one. We do have a much higher res one that we'll put up and share around and stuff like that. So yes, very, very super blessed. Thank you, guys. That's super cool. And let me also mention, that was a super cool thing. Do not feel like you need to do anything. If you hit the subscribe button on Twitch or the follow button on Twitch and the subscribe on YouTube, that's all you got to do. Tell your friends, stuff like that. We're not asking for anything. But if you do want to do stuff, send it to us. We will happily freak the fuck out about it. It is super cool. Thank you very much, guys. Yes, the clothes are supernatural or symbolic supernal constructs. Yes. Don't stress about the clothes in the bathtub, guys. Damn. Also, Brenna, thank you for putting clothes on the person in the bathtub because that was just going to be awkward. Right. Oh, by the way, so Songbird.
Speaking of clothes.
Speaking of clothes. Not speaking of clothes. Songbird, you want to tell people where you are?
Yeah, I am on a journey deep into the astral.
And we talking deep. Songbird.
Currently not wearing clothes.
Nope.
Because I'm a bird.
Oh, sure. I did that.
Like a big albatross for long distance flight.
Cool. I need you to go ahead. I should pull up the book real quick to double check. I'm about to inflict the right amount of damage to you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that tracks. Yep.
So deep in the tomato, he found the seeds.
That's not tall. Don't even have to look.
Bird clothes. Birds aren't real, especially when they're in the astral.
Government conspiracy.
Are you carrying your clothes with you?
I mean, it's all the astral. It's all mental concepts.
Okay.
I got matter 4, life 4. I think they can meld.
Oh, right, yeah.
All right. So yes, we are way out in the sidereal wastes. So I need you to roll your gnosis +3.
Three successes.
So you've taken 6 points of, I believe, lethal damage. I'm double checking. Where's the ecstatic wind?
Our successes bad?
In this particular case.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
Are these things resistant?
I don't think they are. I'm double checking here. Blah, 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 blah. Follow us. Anima Mundi. Oh, actually... But your Astral Amnion does protect against it, so you will have some damage, some reduction. It just says damage. It doesn't actually mention what type of damage. That or I'm overlooking it, and I'm not going to stress about it too much, because your Amnion is going to appear as gains general armor equal to the lower of Gnosis or highest subtle, the lower of her Gnosis or highest subtle arcana.
So that's 4. Because
right.
they're all 4.
They're all 4. So you actually only take 2 points. We'll say lethal damage. I don't think we're going to say it's resistant. And it is only to your soul anyway. So once you get out, it's all gone anyways. I'm not going to stress about that.
Cool.
What happens if your soul dies?
Your soul doesn't die
because
it is just your mental construct. You get knocked back and it's soul shocked. The same thing that happened to Craig, to Weird, a ways back, when you guys remember Ripple, right? Everybody remembers Ripple.
Adorable.
So yes, Songbird, the albatross, braving through the the ecstatic wind of the Anima Mundi in the Astral Realm. Wounded, feathers kind of lost here and there, land and kind of coalesce back into the Valkyrie look of, in this case, herself, and stands before this glorious temple matching a little bit of a design from numerous different religions. Any religion that has ever taught some kind of transcendental thing to achieve to, or some kind of enlightened self. So we're covering 90% of religions. All and adorned, all merged together into this surprisingly harmonious design. And the temple, at least in my head, has taken on a kind of Greek columned, kind of appearance, open, so everybody can see within and without. Of course, it's kind of lonely, Songbird. It's just you, the temple, and what lies within. So within, as Songbird makes their way up, I imagine, did you actually bother to cast a life magic spell to like start restoring yourself? Okay, yeah. So as wounds begin, because you have life 4 now, if I remember correctly, right? Yeah. So lethal damage.
It's not a
just starting to go away. Well, every ritual. So like still an hour for you.
It's an hour,
right?
I mean, I could also just do like, what's the life 2 one where you just heal faster?
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. The body control.
Just massively increase it. That's true. Yeah. One way or another, them wounds are going to go away. As you approach within is, like I said, all these symbols, but unadorned. There's no decoration. Like in my head, the pillars are carved with these symbols, and that is all the decoration that is required. Gold.
There's no offerings or anything.
Right. Yeah, and a large altar, and standing to one side is this kind of fallen angel kind of appearance, flaming wings, massive sword of fire, and like not hateful, but like furious.
Intense.
Intense is a good one too. Just eyes and just, what would I say? Actually, we're going to go ahead and say, just kind of masculine beauty, long hair. It's a freaking angel.
Fits with the Greek thing too.
Yeah, that's true. It is a very Greek thing.
The sexy Satan.
I
can link you the statue.
Not quite. And then to the other side, kind of the matching pair, quite literally in this particular case, of Lilith. And yes, go ahead and pull whatever version of Lilith you'd like. We're talking Adam's first wife or, spawn of Satan, whatever. We're not getting into that. But the matching pair, and these are the aeons of prime and forces. And they have their own purposes and stuff like that, but for now we're concerned about Songbird. And both of them turn, and man, Songbird, it is a weight to even bear them looking at you, just kind of weighing you. And man, you've definitely got that thing, especially being in Obrimos coming here, which is as close to one can physically, air quotes, get to supernal beings of this level, because they're technically sort of not quite supernal, but they are. Nobody's quite figured it out, but nonetheless. I think
my favorite interpretation of it is that they are the astral projections from the other side of whatever their true supernal forms are.
I dig that. Like the things that got left on the other side, yeah. And yes, no, not Lilith, Mother of Monsters, but I mean, potentially. Azazel, right? Just making sure. I've got Zariel stuck in my head, and that's D&D. But yeah, Azazel kind of just this 1/2 step forward, kind of in front of the altar, and steps and says, actually, I don't even think Azazel says anything. You just feel a weight of judgment and this kind of sensation that there is a weight that you are measuring up to, and you need to put something on it to actually balance the scales. And just, there's no words, just a, what are you doing here? Kind of like, are you even worth our time? just sensation just falls on you.
Cool. I am going to crack up a spell then.
Okay. And no, not the Borderlands Lilith, though that Lilith is kind of badass.
So basically, you're standing outside the temple of Obrimos.
At this point,
inside.
But yes, for anybody who's not familiar,
infinite reach in the astral, or no?
No, you do not.
Okay.
Mind magic, technically, I think it's 2 or 1 free reach or something like that. But yes, for anybody who doesn't know, yes, there are these gatherings that represent these different paths. These are the aeons. There's an 11th guy over there in a hut, but we don't talk.
We're not going over there.
We are not.
Absolutely not going over there.
But yes, there's one for each of these different paths. The Mastigo sweat is freaking awesome. But we're not there, so we don't care.
Are these like in a book somewhere where it describes them?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They're in the Signs of Sorcery.
For anybody who's wanting to follow along at home, hit pause on YouTube because Twitch guys, you're not allowed to go anywhere. But it's page 118 of the Signs and Sorcery. What spell are we working out here, Songbird?
We are doing a platonic form.
Ooh, hell yes. That's a very good answer. Sure.
And the idea is that I am going to project a show of what I want to create.
I dig it.
And get as close to it as I can with the magic that I have now and try to prove that this is why I'm here. So what's that?
8 minus 10 is minus 2 plus 8 is 6.
That's
plus
a hard way to do that math.
Oh, dude, it's just I work my way down.
How about 19 minus 10 is 9?
Oh, yeah, you can do it that way, too. Sure. Well, welcome back, friends. So, for podcast folks,
10 successes on 9 dice.
So
it was 8
well
again,
done.
but still.
We good. We back. Oh boy. So yes, considering the 10 successes, we will go ahead and call that a yes. As basically
Potency, yes.
Yes. I think the spear and shield that, Valkyrie Songbird holds just kind of drops away and just drawing forth literal manifestations of a sword and shield they're the platonic forms. So in appearance, they're perfected in shape and in use and such. But
yeah,
I like the idea of the whole nonverbal thing of just, this is the thing I can do, but it's not enough. I want to do more than this. And Azazel, who is the forces guy, who's the one who taught man to wield fire, kind of looks and sees what you are wanting to do. You are, Songbird is wanting to harness more fire. And Lilith, who is literally queen of the urges, and the sheer awakened will. By the way, Chris has a new cat. So if you happen to be see Chris looking around, or you happen to hear cat sounds, that's probably what it is.
It's Ziggy.
I'm sure at one point we will have a cat cameo
He's
of
under
Ziggy
the bed right
Stardust. But Lilith kind of steps forward, kind of places a restraining hand on Azazel, just kind of drawing him back a step. And she kind of walks forward and takes one knee. Let's be honest, she's the personification, I think is the right term, for Prime itself, just awakened will. And while her form is, itself like the clothing and accoutrement and jewelry and stuff like that she adorns herself with, is just constantly shifting, and kind of steps forward and takes a knee, not like supplicate you, but coming down to your level, and looking into your eyes.
Yeah, I'm picturing them as like 20 plus feet tall.
Oh yeah, absolutely enormous. Okay. Greek god kind of classic. Hercules going and talking with Zeus. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you and I both love that movie because we just and so she kind of takes a knee and extends a hand out to you, and basically doesn't ask, but draws the sword and shield into her hands, which, sit in her hands. And she looks at them and then kind of sets them onto the altar and, speaks in a voice of thousands of women, and says, "What is it that you want?"
The ability for one moment to go beyond what is possible with awakened magic.
There's a small little smirk to her, and she's like, I think she says, "Your limits." And then kind of, now here's the thing that...
I said awakened, not supernal.
Right, and notably, because technically Archmastery gets into awakened magic, but yeah, not going to stress about that. But this is the question that I have for Chris, because I've gone back and forth with a couple of different things. What service did Songbird come to offer, or do you have any ideas? Because I've got a couple, but I'm wanting to... how did you think this was going to go?
I figured that Songbird spent time seeing if there was any credible knowledge of other people that had journeyed out this far and asked for something and what their trials might have been, and had a general estimate of hey, okay, this is what might be expected. So Songbird probably has some ideas of that. Chris has no idea.
Gotcha. Okay. Because in my mind, most people don't ever talk about what they paid and what they got, because it's one of occasionally you get some of those where it's very this concilium sent a cabal to go do this thing because the concilium needed it, and so it's a matter of public record. But the individual stuff, very very
right.
So she basically looks down, and I'm going to try and make sure I have the right term for this, but she demands that you dedicate something, and I'm going to try and make sure I have the right name for this thing. Yeah, okay. Actually, where is this thing? Make sure I've got the right one. Yeah. So basically, she says, "You will forge a dominion for me and dedicate it to me. And when that is done, I will give you your gift."
Cool.
To me and to no other. And then she kind of rises back up and kind of places her hand on those platonic sword and shield forms, and just rests her hand there, and you feel the spell control to step away. But you see that they remain on the altar.
Okay.
Took them from you.
All right. Forge a dominion, huh?
No big deal.
No
Let's
big deal.
And I think we can safely assume that Songbird then begins to wake up.
Yeah. take some time to get back through safely.
Yep. Between life spell plus Amnia, and getting back isn't too terrible, especially because you knew where you were going. Songbird had basically worked out ahead of time some basic rough sketch, guess Canyon of the Crescent Moon leads to, once you had Alexandretta, you knew where to go.
A friend who can guide you.
Yeah, I did mean to ask about that, but it didn't matter. Yeah, that's kind of, I was like, I don't know if this is a thing that you would let Scopetus know about. You did go ask a supernal for a favor. Yeah, is there? Yeah. And with that, Songbird wakes up with Network and Titus, who have been kind of chilling, hanging out, and just kind of alternating, keeping an eye on you. And Network kind of looks over. Oh, look who's up! Kind of reaches over and like pinches your cheeks. Is that all? That's you in there, right?
Yeah. What's up?
Okay. No tag-alongs, and you get a little shiver of your peripheral mage sight as he kind of delves and pokes around at your mind. And so how'd it go as the spell kind of dissipates?
Good.
I mean, the fact that you're back makes me feel pretty well.
Yeah. Got some more research to do.
Sure. Yeah. No, I mean, sounds like normal mage stuff, right?
Yeah. And then just like get up and like dust myself off.
Okay.
And go smack some metal with a hammer for a while.
Sure. Cool. So where's Weird or Atratus?
Weird's in the command center.
I imagine that there's an office space upstairs that Weird has slowly kind of accumulated different things in, stuff like that. Has a couple different indefinite scry spells up around New York. Hello, kitty cat.
Kitty cat.
Are we going to get the cat cameo? Cool.
Yes.
Well, we're going to pause for cat cameo. Hello,
Observe.
Ziggy.
This is Ziggy. He's a sweet baby. Even though he looks real mad right now.
He looks super bad. He was like, I was
He
in
was
a
going
window,
places.
There's
He's
squirrels
doing
outside.
things.
Okay.
All right. Yes, guys. Pet cameos. They're just part of the Occultists Anonymous experience.
Just one more service we offer.
Yep. Cool. And Weird, this is like Grand Central Station. This is the command center. This is just kind of where Weird spends most of her days.
Yep.
Okay. What about Atratus?
Play back in New York right now.
Which did fail to mention, between Q and Weird and Jodelle, there is definitely a permanent co-location.
Yeah. We have a door, basically.
Mm-hmm. And in my head, it is a broom closet, and if you are wearing a particular pin or like a backwards turned hat or something like that, some oddball little
it's
behavior.
Definitely keyed. Yeah.
Right. Is what
there was the badge I had that I showed to Supe that let me in.
The badge was the loop.
Oh, right. So I don't have more than one.
No, no, you have the one Atlantean Soulstone, and that's it. But yeah, you could, develop whatever you want. Notably, the cabal are the ones that have access to it. So even your two students, should they ever want to visit, Q can get there. I think Q has enough space that he can possibly get there. Your other mage basically has to come knock on the door. Hey, can I borrow the door? Kind of situation. And so back in New York, doing any particular thing?
Probably like working with whoever the most recent person we've woken up is.
Gotcha.
Trying to. Here's your crash course on what's happened in the world since you got, forcibly separated from your body.
Yeah. And for a lot of these, it's been a bit. For
ease of sake, we'll just say this one is one who has come out of it as a sleepwalker.
Sure. I like that. Yeah, because those who come out as sleepwalkers can be nudged into, awakened society. Those who don't, and who also are specifically having a little bit of a freak out, well, that's what the Read the Depths spell is for. And just a little adjustment of probably a couple memories to kind of fix them up. And they're going to be kind of out of the loop, but the Ebon Phoenix can drop them off at a appropriate location to kind of help them reintegrate into society. And they're probably going to be looked at as being a little bit bonkers, but because of the Read the Depth, adjusting enough memories that it's like, okay, here, we can nudge you into society. Some stuff is going to seem a little out of place, but if you drop off like, old school Spaniard in Spain, they'll at least have some rudimentary, okay, I can recognize some landmarks kind of thing.
I figured they would need, have some memories adjusted, they need to be, watched, kind of. You can't just throw them out there,
And I imagine that's a lot of what Q does. And no, I believe Q is not a James Bond reference. I believe Q is a reference to Star Trek. Yeah. Because Q from James Bond was not an asshole. Q from Star Trek, definitely an asshole.
When you meet those Moros calling themselves Q, it's just like, oh, like James Bond, you make cool tech gadgets. No.
Totally on the right page. I appreciate
They're
that.
space Moros.
Yeah. As Songbird continues to shake his head. Chris shakes his head. Let's be clear. Cool. So that is where you guys are. And so to there's the cat sound. To Tratus, you feel a familiar sensation, notably, of course, because it is Gabe, but also because now that you've established him as a familiar, there's a much stronger connection between the two of you. And he basically has entered the Rookery workshop, the sanctum.
So Gabe has entered the chat.
Yes. Gabe has entered the chat. And says, Tratus, we have news from the Phantasm Society.
What's up?
At this point, there's stymied.
What's wrong?
They've kind of, well, I hate to use the term flatline's not the term. They've plateaued. Recruitment is kind of non-existent. They think that there might be something sinister afoot that is preventing them from finding more ghosts coming in naturally. I mean, I'm doing my recruitment thing, but they're starting to reach out to other cities to try and expand stuff. So Rebecca just wanted to give us a heads up that there might be something, and so she might be calling in her, I'll help favor soon, potentially.
Sure. So. Whatever within reason.
Right.
I'm not gonna take off to the underworld forever, but I can help.
Yeah, that's what that's kind of where she was at. She was at this point she basically wants somebody with spooky mage vision to check things out, maybe. She's not at
up here.
Potentially. She's right now she's basically looking at the fact that it's been a week or two since any new ghosts showed up to the Phantasm Society. To remind folks, at this point, the Phantasm Society has basically drawn in 2 or 3 other Geist crews and have set up a base in the lower reaches, basically actually the upper levels of the underworld, and have claimed a large river town. River town, compared to other places in the underworld, is actually not shitty. There's still some rough stuff. The fact that ghosts are just, sapping and losing essence. But the Phantasm Society has kind of put a foothold in and is basically doing almost soup kitchen style stuff, providing essence to to the ghosts that are there and trying to build them up and help them out. And they're weeding out the bad ghosts and keeping the ghosts who are like, yeah, fuck the underworld, let's fix this. But now recruitment has kind of...
They haven't gotten any at all.
Right. And which also means that, like, ghosts aren't even being dragged down through the gates. So the couple gates that they use, the 2 that are in New York, or rather New Jersey, and a couple others that link there based on the other dice cabals, they're like, there's like no ghosts coming through. So they're wondering if... They're hoping it's, nothing and it's just sheer chance. But
that's not likely.
Right. And so they're wondering if there's legit reapers operating that are just snatching up and eating ghosts or some other thing. So they're very confused, but they're not freaking out just yet. But like a week without a single ghost across large, population centers, they're going, this is unnatural. And that's coming from a guy who literally has a ghost for a soul. So, yeah. So yeah, you were informed of that. And then I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Basically, actually, Songbird, once you're up, Judd has some, make sure I have the right term for it.
So,
Judd has, taken to using Eskrima sticks.
Hell yeah.
Eskrima sticks.
Oh, right.
It's Filipino, if I remember correctly.
I heard that as one word. Was the thing.
Eskrima sticks. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Eskrima sticks. And it's one of my favorite martial arts. I beat people with sticks, but it looks cool. And Judd is literally just sitting here tapping them against each other, almost like, a drummer doing a countdown, and looks and says, "You want to go a couple rounds?" Okay.
Yes.
And you and Judd have been doing some supernatural training within the Rookery area, but he's also been introduced to Ethan and Jerry, and has been doing some stuff. And Judd is now actually teaching some weapon-based martial arts at the same gym.
Radical.
And he was like, man, like as soon as you introduce him to the idea of martial arts, and the variety of them, that's kind of the thing he's thrown himself into. So yes, he serves coffee at the Museum of the Native American, or American Indian. I can't remember that exact. Yeah. And then part-times at a gym beating people with sticks. That's Judd's life. And he's leaning heavily into the, I'm not a mage, but I'm basically adamantine arrow baby. Golly gee, I don't know where he would have gotten that concept from.
Nope.
Poor role models, I tell you what. Cool.
I'm not poor.
Well, yeah. Yeah, those resource dots haven't gone anywhere. Cool. I'm trying to think. Oh, right. And then weird. You are basically crossing off yet another set of clues that has basically led to nothing between your scries, network scries, and Songbird's last little mission before they came back to do their little Animus Mundi mission. Just basically checked off a little bit down in Maryland. That came up nothing. I mean, there was some stuff. Songbird did a favor or two for the local concilium by just kind of upending a warehouse of stuff, but it was not the stuff that you guys were looking for. It looked like, though, that it had been a place of storage of magical and sundry goods. Sundry goods? Am I using that right? Whatever.
Sundries.
And the stuff may have been there. The big clue, especially between all the different stuff that you've sent Songbird out to do, because let's be honest, Songbird is just rocking and rolling on missions and isn't necessarily needing to even bother putting and connecting lines. That's what, we're to network for. The one thing across the 6 months that you've discovered is whatever this armory and this stuff is, you've definitely been on its trail and are realizing, especially now, I think this is probably the fourth one in these past 6 months where Songbird has arrived. And I keep saying Songbird. Songbird is not going in solo. Songbird is badass. Songbird is not that badass. Songbird has been leading some various arrows, our good friend Onyx, a few others, to basically go down and just like kick in some doors, maybe grab a couple free council folks, and just kicking in doors and going, Sears, what's up? Well, we're too late. Well, all right, let's get rid of these guys. There's been some prisoner exchange type things and some soulstone exchanges based on what Songbird and crew managed to collect. But for the most part, it's kind of been bleh. But now Weird can, especially with some divination fate questions and stuff like that, the realization of this armory has been on the move and is going from Seer stronghold to Seer stronghold. It hasn't repeated itself, but it's not likely to, because if Songbird's playing catch up, they're not going to move the thing back to a place that's been ransacked already. But over the past 6 months, it's been moved 4 or 5 times, and you guys have been behind it.
A little too late.
Mm-hmm. But it does. There's that frustration on one hand of damn it, but also, hey, we're actually onto something. Now the idea of how to get ahead of it, that becomes.
So with my gnosis, do I get a feeling that this is just a matter of timing, that we just haven't been quick enough? Or is there somebody actually working against the spell? Like, is there a supernal effect, like somebody's got warding gesture or something to protect themselves?
Nowhere coming type thing.
Yeah.
I think just by, like, no die roll, but yeah, between your own fate, time, and gnosis, and just sheer acanthus sense, it's definitely somebody is likely got some fate magic going on, so that by happenstance, they've already moved every time. You're not coming up against a clash of wills so much as just chance and fate just seems to be just not quite on your side, and especially because of the nature of the spell, where you're getting these hints and stuff like that. So by the time you've gathered enough hints that I'll say, let's go check out Maryland. By the time you've gathered all those hints and gone, let's go to Maryland, they've moved. So it feels like you've got this, I apologize, guys, but I've got to say it. You've got a kind of fate off kind of thing going here where... Right.
That's the one with John Travolta, right?
That's the one with John Travolta.
Okay. So it's not necessarily an active thing. It's just the stars haven't lined up in our favor yet.
It's like fate's with us, but fate's also with them.
Right. And so while you've got a spell that is pointing you towards where the armory is, by the time you've connected enough dots, the armory is no longer there.
And they've probably had a feeling, I think we need to move the armory.
Yeah.
And then
it's like we've been here long enough, we've overstayed.
Seems like a good time to go.
Right.
Yeah.
And so you have this back and forth kind of thing. So figuring out, stuff, and I'm going to be very, very blunt, because we did a 6-month time skip. Of course you're not going to find where the Grimoire is when we come back on episode 100. But yeah, it definitely feels like at this point, the process is working, but there needs to be some kind of faster react or something to enable you guys to get there first. Or
so for the places that we've ransacked, have we been able to find anything that might leave a connection behind?
No. Basically, when you guys arrive, there's usually one of the reasons why Songbird's count is only like 12. Most of the time, when they've arrived, there's some low-level mooks some sleeper guards, and some of these low level awakened sleep seers who, to the rest of the seers of the throne, are basically actually to the rest of the panopticon, are basically cannon fodder. They're like, you know what, if you're not making progress, you're going to be cannon fodder. So they're kind of kept in the dark, and everybody that has survived, which there have been a decent number, because per the Lex Magica, if they do surrender, we kind of have to let them live, and living people tend to give more information anyways. But most of them have no idea what they were even guarding or even showing up. Yeah, we were told to guard an empty warehouse kind of situation. And I'm sorry, going back to the blunt thing. Yes, this is supposed to be super irritating and frustrating, and that you have no leads.
So after 12 series of these things, I'm thinking, because if this was happening to Weird, something like 12 times we've moved the warehouse and it gets ransacked after we move.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's only been 4 or 5 moves, but yeah.
Okay. Still, 2 or 3 for Weird would ring alarm bells that somebody's chasing something. So I've got to think that the prelude is onto us at this point.
I mean, the other seers already knew.
Just a reminder, for those of you who are late to arriving, this is not a prelude. It's a tetrarch.
A tetrarch, sorry.
A potential archmage. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Ash.
I was saying, well, like, the other ones knew we were doing this. So I don't think it's unreasonable that the faction that is focused on knowing would also know we were already hunting these.
Yeah. The Panopticon is space. So you're not really up against, like, because I can't even remember who the Fate guys are. Not going to rack my brain for it, but so you're not up against Fate masters of the Fate Exarch, but there's nothing keeping a bunch of Panopticon guys from having Fate magic. And a Tetra Ruin, thank you.
It's the Exarch.
But yeah, Abaddon and his, what's the word? The war guys.
Oh,
they were.
Oh my gosh!
Right.
Once you called them the war guys, my brain just stopped.
The Praetorians.
Thank you. Yes.
That one. Yeah.
Thank you, Adamantine Arrow.
Yeah, they knew we were hunting these, so.
To be fair, Abaddon knew you were. How much that was, well known. You're not
personal knowledge versus
right.
Yeah. Thinking. And is it that there's no connections? Like, has somebody actively set fire to the room in a space magic sense?
Yep. Yeah, okay. They're actually using there's a death spell for it that basically prevents you from leaving any traces. And so they just cast that over everything, pack everything up, heave ho out of here, and you leave no fingerprints, you leave no hair, and basically leaves no trace of yourself or the things that were here. So basically, a lot of times Songbird has been showing up to a pristine empty warehouse, or clean spick and span house. It's just like, well, I'm gonna punch these guys because I got nothing else. And yes, 6 months have gone, and it's very good that all of you have had other things to do. Otherwise, this would have driven you absolutely bonkers. And it is probably the big, sour, dark spot for the whole cabal. Just like, yep, this is the thing we want to do. Good thing these other things are going along, because this one big thing that the cabal kind of centers around, which I think at this point, like, you guys probably have a very cool, like, secure vault place for your, for 2 of your things, because Judd doesn't go in the vault, and the other one technically belongs to Adamantine Arrow. But yes, in the vault is Aesop's Fable book and a jar full of lightning.
Yeah. So do we just keep on going and hope we get lucky, or is it time for different tactics?
A little more proactive with our spells. Make fate better for us than it has been.
Yeah, and basically at this point, I'm going to assume you guys haven't done anything with any other members of the Concilium. You have not called in any favors. You have not called down any supernal beings or anything like that. It's just been, we're going to put this on the back burner because we are chasing a Tetrarch. We don't want to do, as Vicar was a big fan of saying, I don't want to do anything directly to them because then they're going to know. So we're trying to do this around the outside kind of thing to avoid direct notice. But yeah, at this point, you are probably realizing, well, after the fifth warehouse, they're probably onto us, so we might have to do something more direct.
Mm-hmm.
Or you and I talked a little bit about doing some astral investigations around the idea.
Mm-hmm. Yep. There's a lot of stuff one can do in the astral, and all three of you know I love the astral. If you didn't see RV Mage, yeah.
So when I'll send out a text, and when everyone's got a minute, we should have a team.
Well, at this point, because Songbird, just woke up, Atritus is, downstairs with we'll say a not super ancient Peruvian. This one actually looks like it might be okay because they're from like only 200 years ago compared to some of them. But everybody at, right now is at the Rookery.
Okay. So 6 months and we haven't made much progress. We've been following a breadcrumb trail that's cut off for us.
Mm-hmm.
So a couple options. We can start doing something more direct, but that's going to tip our hand after 6 attempts or 5 search warehouses. They're going to know we're coming anyway. So maybe that's not a big deal. Well, if we still want to try and stay subtle, because maybe they don't know as much about us, we can try doing an astral investigation, because the idea of this armory that keeps moving, like that exists as an idea in multiple people's heads.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe we could do an astral investigation to try and learn more about it. And that might give us a connection that we can use to catch it before they move it this time.
Yeah, it's an option.
Network.
I definitely want to keep the element of surprise as much as we can, though. Like, even if they know we're hunting them, I don't want them to know we're coming.
That we're hunting them. We don't want them to know that we know that they know.
Now, because you don't get to be a Tetrarch without having a few dice in your pool. They're probably going to have that protected or warded, the idea of it in the astral. So there's probably going to be some things to get around there.
Network kind of looks and says, "Cool, like this is my thing. Like, I'm up for that."
I'm thinking the best guide that I know of to explore things in the astral might be Scopetus.
Now, bear in mind, Scopetus
is not in the Temenos.
Right. Scopetus is amazing for the Anima Mundi.
Sure.
The Anima Mundi is going to be the dreams and thoughts of spirits and trees.
Okay.
And right. The Temenos
Planets.
is right. Yeah. The Temenos is going to be. He likes to go to the Temenos.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he wanted to go to the Temenos.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he does.
But you weren't supposed to let him.
Huh?
I thought you weren't supposed to let him.
No, you don't let him into
there.
your Neuros.
Oh.
Yeah, he's visited the Temenos, but he can't stay there because he's going to lose, because his anima, his daily residence is from the Anima Mundi. So he can go hang out in the Temenos for a little while, and then he's like, well, shit, gotta get back home and rest up, and then once he gets access again. Yeah.
Yeah, he does go into the Temenos, but
but he's probably
wants to go to Uneros.
Well, he really wants to get into somebody's Uneros. And based on the books that you read, he's done it before, and it's not been great. There are no direct details. He seems like a nice enough guy. Entity.
No, he
thing.
doesn't.
Yeah, he's a friend, right?
Some sort of fucking claimed bullshit.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, notably, especially from the knowledge that you guys have, and Network, has probably talked about, because Weird has met up with Scopetus and kind of maintained a good relationship. Network is like, yeah, because if he gets into somebody's Uneros, he can probably stake claim for a while and then have a very, very easy access to the Temenos, because you just follow the path that humans naturally have, the natural connection they have. So, yeah.
So what do you guys think?
Like, Network says, like, I'm totally in, because I'll actually get to go, like, do something. And I won't have to, like, the fleshy self is fleshy and weak. But the astral self, I'm a little less concerned about getting beat up. I mean, there's other dangers, especially if we go chasing a, Tetrarch's armory. But at least then, I'm buff.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Songbird buff there, actually.
So,
and I love this. Sorry, podcast folks. Network and Songbird are kind of looking at each other, eyeing each other, head shakes, nods. Yes, yep.
No.
Like, no, really, yeah.
So do we try and do it on our own, or do we look for some help? Or, and I hesitate to say this because that opens up a whole other can of worms, do we reach out to other members of the Concilium for help?
Well, and throwing back to 4 weeks ago, the biggest thing is this: as soon as you bring in other members of the Concilium, then they can start to
get rights to the claim.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Because most of them, especially at this point, where most of at least the major players of the Concilium know about what you guys are doing, and basically can't lay claim on any of it. The Adamantine Arrows have a little bit of a claim based on the fact that they have that one grimoire, but at this point, Songbird, how much order status do you have?
4.
Right. Songbird doesn't quite give out orders, but there's very few people who can basically call him out and say, no, you can't do that. And they come down to Red Dread and Pip. Colossus is his mentor, but as far as the Arrow are concerned, they're side by side.
He's a Forge Master boss, but...
Right. Yeah. Forge Master boss, Adamantine Arrow co-worker. Which makes things a little bit awkward occasionally. No, probably not. Songbird and Colossus are chill. They're not into that. Tuesday, the spell downs.
We can keep on going like we've been going and just hope they make a mistake. But I'm thinking that's not going to be a great way to go. But
I feel like if we're going to approach it that way, we should at least maybe make our spell better. The one that's been giving us hints.
That's one of the issues with Fate. There's not any real big way to make it better.
I mean, you can make Fate now, right? You're Fate 4.
That's where he was, or that's where she was, until Fate 5, where you have miracles happen and stuff like that. But actually, because Craig, I've already warned you about this. Yeah, when Atratus mentions, can't you just make Fate? Now, haven't you reached that level now? Weird. And I'm sorry, I'm adding some tone to Atratus. Mm-hmm. Not intentional. But yeah, Craig, does Weird have any response about that?
Weird has been, since the beginning, Weird's been pretty careful with her wisdom. And since the whole change in her life path with founding the legacy, that she's taking great strides towards advancing herself spiritually. And she went to the precipice and had to look over and thought long and hard about it and decided she isn't quite ready to take that leap yet. Fate 5 is like, now there's an eclipse, like a plague of locusts. This is like New York is flooded. That's the magnitude of Fate 5.
That good shit.
She's not ready to hold that power yet.
Scarlet Witch now probability powers.
Yep.
Or it's the grimoire we're looking for is there.
Yes. Yeah. We have to catch it in a cab or something. 100%. Yeah, exactly. But there's a whole lot of other stuff that goes along with that, and she wasn't sure she was ready to hold that power yet. So it was a conscious choice to step away from that precipice of Fate 5.
Which, by the way, is why Craig was given a dot of wisdom. Like, no, because Weird said, I'm not ready for that, and has been working on her wisdom, so that's where we got that. But
I get it. Still would have been real handy.
So to a certain extent, you can manufacture fate, but there's always a cost to pay. Fate doesn't, like, I can't just write the narrative the way I want it to be. There's always going to be a cost somewhere down the road.
Or an unseen difficulty.
Yeah, or an unseen difficulty, or something's going to come back to bite us in the ass. So I can just adjust probabilities, but something else is going to get adjusted down the road. That's probably not something we want. You have to be careful with fate, that's all. So I can't really boost the spell.
No,
can we make it more direct? Like,
you could recast it and try and give yourselves a different
goal,
tack of your sails, so to speak. Mm-hmm. That is definitely a possibility. I
mean, I could recast a spell and phrase it that we want clues on where the armory will be to try and get in front of it.
Mm-hmm.
That's an option. But this isn't just the dice haven't come in our favor yet. This is somebody else out there is actively working against us. And I don't know that just recasting it and rephrasing it is going to be enough to get around that.
Network kind of...
Find me that spell.
What's that?
Find me that spell.
Which spell?
The one that's working against us.
Oh, yes. Rose does point out, because Rose is here. I have another character to play. It's not all networked. But yeah, Rose says, I mean, it won't hurt to at least cast that new spell and go to the tomato, the Temenos.
Temenos.
Sure.
Don't put it in universe.
It's the one and only.
Yeah, because once it gets in, it's never going away.
Yep.
Yeah, we can do that.
See, I figured now that we have more information on what we're looking for, really, we can at least narrow down the scope of what our spell is. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mechanically, you guys are trying to locate the armory. And now that, especially now, Weird, like I said, going through, marking that X, kind of looking at this map of stuff and going,
yeah, there's like pictures and notes and stuff with red string and thumbtacks and stuff.
Oh, yeah. And yeah, Titus and you kind of putting your heads together going, what the heck? What's the pattern? And then realizing it's not that you're failing, it must be that they're moving it. That's the logical conclusion that you guys came to, is not that, well, this wasn't the place and this wasn't the place. They've all been empty. So maybe it's literally you guys are arriving too late. And also a quick note, because I'm sure somebody's going, did they post cognition? Yes, they post cognitioned at the warehouse and still came up with nothing, because the place was scrubbed, because these guys are top tier seer agents. They're prepped for this shit. So yeah, could recast Strings of Fate and basically find clues to where it's going to be, so that way you can get ahead of it, is a possibility. And then possibly using the Astral to try and get an idea of what all is going on with this place is a possibility. I don't know if there's other stuff that you guys have in mind. Craig, if you'll do me a favor and go ahead and work up that Strings of Fate spell with your new Gnosis 5 and your shortened ritual durations. And then we're going to end up going to a break. Actually, yeah, I was going to say, I'm sorry we didn't do a whole lot, but, well, let's be honest, it's episode 100, and we had to catch up with 6 months of stuff, so. Chris, you have a long star. Okay.
Just thinking.
Oh, okay.
Think about how the fuck I'm going to make a Dominion.
The book does suggest possibilities that cause that.
Advanced duration, event scale.
Mm-hmm.
But we're doing it in a sanctum, so reach isn't really a factor.
That is correct, because you're casting it on yourselves. Yes.
Mm-hmm. And advanced potency in case there is clashes of wills or something.
Sure. Yeah, and that's just a reach, so sure, why not?
Yeah. Oh, we don't need extra potency. I do need some duration, though, right? Or do I need? I don't need an extra potency. There's no potency on the spell.
Potency does pass resolve, but you guys are all going to allow it to happen. So.
And duration. It is a duration spell.
Mm-hmm.
So I've already got 4 steps with advanced duration. Gives me
a month.
Mm-hmm. So let's boost that.
So -2.
-4 because we'll keep it indefinite because we don't know how long it's going to take, right?
Yeah, you can make it indefinite if you want. Technically, though, indefinite is going to require a mana and another reach.
Sure. Advanced scale I've already got in the reach, so it covers the cabal.
Mm-hmm.
How many entries can I use now?
3.
4?
4, yes. I was literally just doing this last week.
So somebody's working against me using my rapier as an opponent, kind of. I'm working against someone.
Okay.
Does that work?
Yeah,
okay.
I dig that.
Power.
15?
15. Okay, so half an hour is ritual time. This is 5, I think. Or is it still an hour?
I can't remember. I thought it was half an hour.
Half an hour.
It goes down.
Yep.
6 successes.
Cool. I mean, you had unlimited reach, so you could have done it instantly anyways.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, cool. All right. Oh, yeah. Which reminds me, Chris, did you just take an arcane beat from the 10 successes? Okay, cool. And then, yeah, same thing for you, Craig.
Okay.
And we are doing group beats, so everybody go ahead and jot those down.
Arcane beat.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's how you undo it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh, so when anyone gets one, we all get one?
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Okay.
We'll see how that goes, and if you guys all of a sudden start getting buku's amounts of XP, then maybe pool them all and then spread them out. But for right now,
buku's, was that an attempt at French?
No, it wasn't an attempt.
It
was an attempt at American slang.
Yeah, it's something we're trying out right now. Something brand new.
Yep.
I mean, because if we're going to get 9 beats off of aspirations,
that's true.
That might be a little much.
Yeah. Okay.
We'll have to probably talk about it.
Yeah. Well, like I said, we'll see. But for right now, yeah, you guys, because otherwise, for this first half of the session, we're going to get no beats.
We got nothing. Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody gets 2 beats this session, or this episode.
Sounds good.
Yeah. And so yes, that spell concludes, or not, doesn't conclude, casts, and it is indefinite. Do you I imagine you dispel, release. What's the word? Yeah, release the other spell. You don't relinquish it.
I don't know. Is it still viable hitting these armories after they move it?
You guys have been coming up with nothing, which is the big frustrating thing. Basically, Songbird is showing up, finding some seers.
Not nothing. Songbird gets to punch seers.
But they're like just low-level moves.
For Songbird and his, at this point, like well-oiled machine of adamantine arrow, like ass kickers. They throw up in a co-location, jump out, beat up a couple guys, and I'm like, well, that was kind of underwhelming. Like,
see you again next Tuesday. All right.
Bye.
All right, so I'll drop the old one and
sure. Cool. And that is where we will pause today. Not a whole lot of activity, other than just the start of some new stuff. And also, obviously, Songbird meeting. Songbird definitely just checked for meeting freaking
angels.
Oh my gosh, what are they called?
Aeons.
Aeons.
You said it, Aeon, yeah.
Because cool. So as always, thank you for joining us, guys, for Occultists Anonymous presents the Rookery. That sounds a bit pretentious. Welcome back to the Rookery. I'm glad you guys have joined us. We will see some cool new branding as of Tuesday when the new video goes up. We're going to change and update stuff and throw Brenna's art everywhere, which is going to be very cool. If you want to join us and chat with us and hang out, please do come by Discord. That's yeetinto.space. I made that mention when we did the technocracy thing, and people were like, what? I'm like, yeah, literally, you put it in your web browser, yeet into, one word, .space. Whoosh, you are here at our Discord. You can ask that one guy who managed to find us accidentally. It really is that easy. And so, yeah, that will join you into the Discord, and you can come hang out, chat with us, yell at us about, oh, you should have done this or that, the other. Actually, nobody's ever done that, which is, thank you, community, for not backseat playing. Yes, great place. Come hang out, ask questions about the rules, come share what your cabal is doing, what your werewolf pack is doing, what your vampire coterie is doing, because we have all three of those currently being posted in our What Happened in Your Game channel. And do that. And then, of course, come by our Patreon, patreon.com/occultistsanonymous, or staylucky.club. And you can see Network's character sheet is up there. I'm about to post probably this weekend all three of their updated per episode 100 character sheets. Judd will eventually show up there as soon as there's an actual deviant character sheet that I can work with. And then we also have a Tratus's write-up for the murder of Colton. I can't remember his last name.
I couldn't either. That's why it's not in the write-up.
Yep, thank you. Because sadly, when you go back to do the level 1 starter newbie quest, you just kind of raffle stomp it. Whoops. Who cares? Gabe got vengeance. And literally it was Gabe. So, cool. Twitch guys, we'll be back in 5 minutes. YouTube guys, we will see you on Friday. Craig, say it.
Stay lucky.
It's back. All right, bye guys.
Bye.